These key discussions. Joining us now is Mark Esper, former Secretary of Defense. Secretary, it's great to have you back on the show and to get your insights here. Welcome.
Yeah, good afternoon, Morgan.
So that's where I want to start with you. Yes, we saw this strike, a very weak response, as President Trump just indicated there, and a response that apparently the U.S. as well as the Qataris expected or got some sort of heads up on. Does this, in fact, provide an off-ramp for retaliation by Iran?
I think this is probably the end of the United States directly attacking Iran again. It provides enough of an off-ramp. The Iranians are going to message domestically that they fired 14 missiles. There is some reporting that they are already telling the Iranian people that 6 impacted and had effects. Meanwhile, of course, we know that it was calibrated to have no impact whatsoever. So right now it seems we're in a position, and President Trump even said as much, that this, as far as he's concerned, he thinks all parties need to move to, a peaceful settlement. And interestingly, in that his final line there, he said he would encourage Israel to do the same, which I thought was interesting as well.
Do you think Israel is close to finished with its own war on Iran, or hard to tell?
Well, they said that they are close to accomplishing the majority of their objectives, which I assume was to dismantle, obviously, Iran's nuclear infrastructure, but also its ballistic missiles, its launchers, its Air Force, the small and weak Air Force that they had, and then really the defense industrial complex that supported those elements. Now, there may be some other things out there. There are probably more they can go after, but I suspect we are days away. To me, the challenge is going to be, how do they maintain the pressure on Iran while at the same time pushing hard terms, different terms of what Iran is probably expecting when it comes to some type of settlement on the way forward?
Secretary, I see how a weakened Iran is certainly at the advantage of the United States and its allies on the face of it. But I also wonder if there's a power void left from Iran's point of view and its proxy's point of view in the Middle East, as they have been so significantly weakened over the past couple of years, and if something else to be concerned about potentially fills that void.
Look, it's a good question, but it's hard to see what that void would be, because it has been for 6 years now. Iran has been sponsoring all the terror groups throughout the region: Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis most recently, Shia militia groups. And so the power void would be actually hopefully an absence of conflict and terrorism and threats coming out of one country that was intimidating its neighbors, particularly the Arab states, Israel and the United States. So, look, we could end up, if this is played well, in a far better situation, but only time will tell. Again, to me, the negotiations coming up are going to be difficult. They're going to be tough, because what we're going to need to have is some type of enduring presence in that country, surveillance of their nuclear infrastructure, and, of course, immediately we need to find out where those missing 900 pounds of highly enriched uranium is located and get that under control as well.
Do you expect Iran to allow us to find that out?
I don't know, honestly. They've proven to be quite intransigent, even up until the bombing of Fordow. Even today, they are striking back at Israel. We'll see if they've come to the recognition that if they don't step back, if they don't swallow their pride a little bit, this could continue to get really bad for them and their country dismantled. We see today that Israel's now targeting what they call symbols of Iranian oppression, right? Evin Prison, places like that, where pointing out to the Iranian people that they don't need to live under this terrorist regime, that there is a better life out there. And I assume they're trying to provoke the Iranian people to rise up. We'll see. But look, this is where it's going to get tough, the negotiation, to see whether Iran will actually agree. And the first question will be, will they agree to talk even while Israel retains a presence over their skies to put pressure on them?
The current Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, basically said over the weekend, deterrence has been reestablished, U.S. deterrence. Obviously a very secretive, but also very complicated, complex, and very successful by a number of metrics mission that was conducted here with Operation Midnight Hammer. How does it speak to technological prowess of the U.S. military, and how does it now set the stage for this NATO summit where member countries are expected to boost their spending to as much as 5% of GDP?
Yeah, look, there are two principal components to deterrence. One is capability, and the second is will. And I don't think anybody doubts our capability. And we once again proved that we have the capability to enter enemy airspace and bomb them and leave them without being attacked or even known. And that shows our capability. But I think importantly it shows that President Trump has the will to conduct such operations when America's interests are at stake. So I think it does improve deterrence in that regard. With regard to NATO, we're already hearing out of NATO that the allies have agreed to 5%, although there seems to be some backsliding on countries like Spain. I am not happy by reports that they are going to achieve 5% of GDP toward defense by 2035. That's just ridiculous. It's way too long. We need them to increase spending dramatically. We're already years behind, and the Russian threat is going to continue to grow. In fact, we had the NATO Secretary General say not long ago that they think Russia could rearm and be prepared to go after NATO partners by 2030. So clearly the timelines need to get aligned and adjusted.
So we're talking about the possibility, perhaps, here for an off-ramp for kinetic strikes and retaliation by Iran, but how to assess other risks where Iran is concerned, whether it's from a cyber threat standpoint, or we've heard about sleeper cells, the possibility of hate crimes or domestic terrorism, or even Iran targeting individuals. And I ask this knowing that, at least until recently, you had a full security detail because of those issues.
Yeah, look, I think those are all important considerations that I assume at some point will be discussed. They are far more challenging to go after. We obviously have a great law enforcement presence here in the United States at the federal level, beginning with the FBI and heading all the way throughout the states. But those are factors we need to consider. And I know of concern to your viewers is Iran can continue to threaten the Strait of Hormuz and cut off or inhibit oil supplies. That might be something to be adjusted. My priority would have been if Iran had hit us hard enough for us to respond aggressively, would be to take out the Iranian Navy, or at least those parts of it that could really inhibit the transit in the Strait of Hormuz. But right now, that seems to not be the case.